Wine is laying on her bed, resting after working whole day. Wine works at a restaurant, and when she come back, her stepmother make her do more work until she is totally out of energy. Her mother died when she was very young, and her father married to another woman, and she had a daughter before. Wine's stepmother never liked her, but in front of her dad, she acts like she cares about Wine, but in reality, she doesn't. She said, barging into her room and jumping on her bed, making Wine to sit. She said excitedly. She was interrupted with a knock on the door, and Wine said, she said, and her dad came in the room with a smile, and her stepsister excused herself and left the room. He said and looked at Wine, and Wine told him to continue, looking normal from outside, but inside she was hoping that what her stepsister told her is not true. After announcing his decision, he left without asking if she is okay with this marriage or not. Maybe today, if her mother had been with her, nothing like this would happen with her. Suddenly, the room felt like it was closing in on her, and an overwhelming sense of dread washed over her. Her heart raced, and sweat started to form on her forehead. Slowly, she calmed herself down and lay down on her bed, trying her best to stay on positive side. Maybe he's really good, or maybe it is a forced marriage for him too. Otherwise, why would he agree to marry her? Does he even know her? Lost in her thoughts, Vine contemplated the worst case scenarios. What if their marriage turned out to be a loveless union, an empty shell of a relationship? What if she spent her days yearning for a connection that would never come? Yet, buried beneath the layers of fear, a glimmer of hope flickered within her. She reminded herself that love and understanding could grow over time, that the man she was going to marry might surprise her in the most delightful ways. Entering in with Jungkook, she couldn't help but to think about her stepmother's words. Let's see how you will survive this. He's gonna make your life hell. He doesn't even like you, and who even like a girl like you? Vine was trying so hard to think positive, and she is succeeding to some extent. Her thoughts interrupted when Jungkook said, Vine nodded and went to change. She couldn't help but to think what he is gonna talk about. What if he didn't like her and wanted to tell her how ugly she is, or he doesn't want to be with her? He doesn't deserve a wife like her. After changing, she came back and saw him sitting on bed waiting for her. She nervously went towards Jungkook and sat beside him, and then he started to speak. He said and picked his pillow, but stopped by Ryan. After 3 weeks, they are trying to get to know each other. They are trying to understand each other better. Now Ryan is making breakfast and Jungkook is going to some important meeting. Ryan was making breakfast when she get a call from her stepmother. Ryan cut the call and took a deep breath and continued her work. But now she couldn't focus. Ryan's anxiety suddenly surged, overwhelming her with intense emotions she couldn't control. Her heart raced as if it wanted to escape from her chest. Her breath grew shallow, and beads of sweat formed on her forehead. The room felt like it was closing in on her, and an overwhelming sense of dread washed over her. Her thoughts spun in a chaotic whirlwind, and she struggled to make sense of her own emotions. Ryan fought to keep her composure, afraid that revealing her panic attack would burden her husband. He sat and sat on the chair in dining room and doing something on his phone. Ryan's panic attack intensified, leaving her feeling detached from her own body. It was as if she was watching herself from a distance, unable to connect with reality. Tears welled up in her eyes as a sense of hopelessness settled upon her. She desperately longed for someone to understand, to offer comfort and support, but she remained silent, not wanting to burden Jungkook. Will he really leave her or use her and get new girlfriends? What if he also start to abuse her in the future, like her stepmother, and no one will ever know? What if a hand grasped her chin and tilted it up, and she heard a voice, Ryan, look at me. She couldn't help but to obey the voice because it sounded too authoritative for her not to obey. She slowly opened her eyes. Her chills disappeared slowly when she saw the pool of concern in his eyes. Only 2 words, but they contained so much calm resilience. A sob escaped her throat, and moisture spilled past her eyes until his face blurred. Jungkook hugged her, and she let out weeks, months of stress and anxiety until she ran out. It was not just what her stepmother said today, but it was everything. It was her life after her mother's death. Jungkook didn't say a word as she sobbed out on his chest. He just held her until her tears dried. Ryan wanted to share everything with him. It's just she feels safe with him. He said picking his phone and typing something in it. Ryan told him about all her stepmother and how she treated her. Jungkook was so angry and Ryan can see the fury in his eyes. But he stayed quiet and listened to Ryan. When she stopped talking, Jungkook's eyes softened and he said, in that vulnerable moment, she realized that their arranged marriage had unexpectedly gifted her with a partner who truly cared. The next day, her stepmother again called, but Wine didn't pick it up first. But she called third time, Wine picked it, and Wine was shocked to hear her stepmother apologizing. She was crying and wanting Wine to forgive her. Wine couldn't believe at first. Maybe she realized her mistake now. What she did to her was not good, but later on she forgave her stepmother. It feels nice when she didn't have to hear her harsh words. Wine and Jungkook faced life's challenges hand in hand with open hearts, and a bond strengthened by the understanding and compassion they had discovered within each other. She discovered that Jungkook is cold to everyone except her. Their willingness to embrace their vulnerabilities and share their deepest desire created an unbreakable bond between them. As the years passed, Wine and Jungkook continued to live happily ever after. They navigated lives up and down, hand in hand, always there for each other. Jungkook get to know about her childish behavior, which she kept hidden for years. We tend to embrace our inner child and act delightfully foolish when we feel safe in their presence.